Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate Day number 899, Monday, September 16th, 2019. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, well, it looks like the dust has now settled from that debate on Thursday night, the third debate. And so as far as the media is concerned, it looks like they're saying that the big losers there would be legs in the air Harris, Kamala Harris, and Julian Castro. Harris, they just say that she just didn't have a good night. Now, I didn't watch it. I watched a couple clips, a couple highlights, and both of the highlight clips I saw her, she looked to me like she was stoned out of her mind. So I'm not really sure what's up with Kamala, legs in the hair Harris, legs in the air Harris, but yeah, I agree she had a bad debate. She had the first debate, she had a couple moments, and after that, she's really been pretty much reduced to what she actually is, which is a lightweight. She's an intellectual lightweight, and the more you dig into her, the more shallow she appears to be, and she doesn't have much going for her. Of course, she really climbed the ladder into the political limelight by sleeping with the mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown. So that's why we call her legs in the air Harris. And while it may have helped her work her way up the chain, and now she's got a nice gig in D.C. as a senator, I think that she has achieved the Peter principle, meaning that that's as high as she's ever going to go, and she's probably in over her head there. Castro is, of course, taking a beating because he went after Crazy Joe. Yes, he did. And what makes it even worse is that the point that he took issue with Uncle Joe on his position on Medicare, Medicaid, and healthcare in general was apparently the point that Castro was hammering Biden over. It appears that Castro was incorrect, factually incorrect about the attack on Biden. So it's kind of the double whammy. But he doesn't have a lot going for him either. Hard to believe he was actually in Obama's cabinet. The guy's a total dumbass. So it looks like Harris and Castro, according to the media, were the weakest in the debate on Thursday night and lost the most. Neither of them have any chance whatsoever of anything moving forward. I never really took Harris that seriously anyway. I always thought that she was kind of running for like the VP slot. And Castro, I'm not really sure why he was running at all. So that is according to the media what they think. Harris and Castro were the big losers on Thursday. I still think the number one big loser was Biden because he just, to me, all he did was reinforce what is being said about him throughout the media circles and other places, YouTube and everywhere else, that he's lost it mentally. He just does not. He's not there. Okay, he doesn't have what it takes to represent the Democratic Party on the national stage against someone like Trump, who thinks fast on his feet, got a good command of the issues because he deals with them every day. Biden is just not going to get it done, as I've said many times before. I think he was. Some people say, well, they thought he did pretty good or whatever. I don't see it. The clips that I saw, and probably more clips of him than anybody, I never saw him actually deliver a good, solid answer to any question. He seemed confused and baffled and tripping over his words. His teeth are sliding around his mouth. I mean, I know if that's all it was, it wouldn't be a big issue. But it's everything about Biden. It's not there. Anyway, I still believe that, although I do agree that Harris and Castro both had a bad night, I still think that Biden needed to have a pretty decent night. It's not possible for him to do that at this point because a lot of what's going on with him is his mental faculties, are just not there anymore. So he'll continue to do about what he's doing now. He could make a major gaffe, and that might sink him for good. But again, we're just looking at polls right now. And once you get into the primaries, the polls don't really matter. It's about who's got the most supporters on the ground. And as you can see, even in the media reports, there's no enthusiasm or excitement around Biden. They go to his speeches, there's 15, 20, 30, maybe 50 people there, and they're just kind of looking at him. There's no energy around Biden. And, you're not going to become the nominee of a party in a presidential election unless you have some buzz around you, some enthusiasm, some excitement, and there just isn't. It isn't there for Biden right now, according to people on the ground in New Hampshire and Iowa covering the Democratic, what's leading up to the primary. They're talking about the fact that Warren seems to have the most organized, excited people on the ground, and Bernie Sanders obviously would come second. And no one else really seems to have much. So that's pretty much how things look, especially the Democrats. Remember, you have a couple early states that are caucus states, and that caucuses, it's all about your supporters have to actually be there. They have to participate in the caucuses. It's not even just going to vote. They actually have to go caucus. And you really need hardcore supporters who will get up off the couch and do that. And again, I think that if Biden makes it to the primary contests, I think that he'll be lucky to win any of the first three. I think he could place in the top three, maybe second or third. But I just think the on the ground support is not going to be there for Biden. And that, on top of everything else, if he's still around by the time the first primary comes around, I don't think he'll be around very long after that. And you know, a lot of people are talking about the fact that they see this coming and they're saying, okay, it looks like it's going to be Warren. But actually, I think what I see coming, as most of you know, I've predicted that, and it's just a prediction. I don't have any special inside information. I just have said for a very long time, even before Biden entered the race, I did not think he had the stuff to be the Democratic nominee. Okay, and then because of that, I see that when he's gone, he's the only so-called centrist. Once he's gone, all you have is a bunch of people so far to the left they're unelectable. The Democrats will get wiped out with any of those other people. That's why they have to try to hang on so hard to Biden. But if he doesn't hang on, if he goes away, and I think that's better than 50-50, you're not going to have anyone there to represent the centrist. At which point, that's why I believe the rotten Reverend Clinton will throw her hat in the ring, because she meets all three criteria. Name recognition, she can raise the type of money you have to raise, and she already has an organization ready to go. No one else I can think of does. And that's why I think it will be the rotten Reverend who will come in behind Biden and pick up the slack when he goes down. And I think she'll end up being the nominee. But let's just say that doesn't happen. Let's just say that does not happen, and things just play out the way they are now, and we have no new people enter the field. I think what you're likely to end up with is Biden getting into the primaries. He's gonna not do very well. He'll come in, second, third, maybe even below that. Although probably won't come in below third. I think he'll mostly place in the top three. But I'd be surprised if he wins at those any of the first three primaries. He might win some after that, particularly when you get in the South. But those first three primaries, man, he's gonna have a very difficult time. And he might stay in there. He might just stay in because he's able to, because his poll numbers continue to put him there in the polls. But once the primaries start, forget the polls. Now we're talking votes, actual votes. So I think at that point, what you could very well end up with is something that the Democrats fear mostly, and that is a brokered convention. They get to the convention and there is no clear front runner, and they have to have a brokered convention. That is something the Democrats are terrified of. In fact, that's why they came up with the superdelegates in the first place, was to make sure that they could always cut that off at the pass and make sure if they don't have a clear front runner, the superdelegates could jump in, throw all their delegates behind one person, and they could push them to the front and avoid any type of a brokered convention. So I think a brokered convention is still an option if the rotten Reverend Clinton doesn't get in. I think that's probably a very reasonable chance that could happen, because I think the superdelegates are there's been some changes. There's not as many superdelegates. They have to pledge earlier now than they used to, and quite a few of them are leftover Bernie superdelegates from the last time, and they're not going to have they're not going to have a clear choice. They're going to look at Biden. A lot of these superdelegates are going to look at Biden and go, we can't let that happen. And they're going to say, yeah, well, Warren's too far to the left, but we're going to have to put our money on Warren and then hope that she can move to the center, which she would be perfectly willing to do. In fact, that's her plan. So I think that it's possible you could have a brokered convention. The delegates could be split, and you could end up, I think, most likely with Warren, and then they would be counting on her to be able to move to the center. And I think if Hillary doesn't jump in the race and no one else jumps in the race, and it's really the top three you're really looking at now, Biden, Sanders, and Warren, I think that Warren would probably end up edging out Biden, whether it's through the primary process, the caucuses, or whether it's through a brokered convention, or the superdelegates all jumping in. So that's just the way I kind of see it at this point. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion at this point. Kevin McCarthy was on Maria Bartiromo this morning, and he says that he believes Comey and McCabe will face criminal charges. Kevin McCarthy believes that Comey and McCabe will face criminal charges. Yeah, I agree with that. He also said that he wants to get to the bottom of exactly what happened and wants as much declassified as possible, because he said it was the closest we've ever been to a coup. And that's very good, because I'm not a huge fan of Kevin McCarthy, but he's a hell of a lot better at this point, at least in his language, than Paul Ryan. So big ears, Eddie Munster Ryan. So yeah, I think that's good to hear from Kevin McCarthy. And he mentioned one other thing I thought was interesting. He said that Pelosi, as far as he can tell, is not going to be bringing the trade deal that they signed with Mexico to the floor for a vote. Now, I think that this is a horrible, horrible idea if you're a Democrat. I know Pelosi doesn't want to see Trump get the win here, but quite honestly, those blue states that Trump turned red are all states that would benefit hugely from the trade deal he signed with Mexico and Canada, and especially the one once he finally gets it done with China. He signed the trade deal with Japan. So these trade deals with Japan that are done, basically pretty much done, the one in Japan needs to be signed off on, but Mexico and Canada are pretty much ready to go. If Pelosi does not bring those trade bills to the floor and does not even have a vote on those, I mean, you're talking about mostly the people who would benefit from that being Democrat, blue-collar type, and farmers and people in agriculture, things like that, manufacturing. These are blue-collar Democrats that would benefit from these trade deals. And maybe that's the reason why she doesn't want to bring them up, because she doesn't want Trump to get the credit. But if she doesn't bring them to the floor and they're just left hanging out there, they become a campaign issue for every Democrat and every one of those districts in all of them places. So I would have to think that the Democrats running in those districts, running tough races, I would have to think that they're going to go to Pelosi and say, God, you got to bring this up for a vote. I need to run on this. So I think Pelosi is between a rock and a hard place here on this deal, and it would be the right thing to do for the country to get those deals ratified through the Congress. If Pelosi doesn't do it, I think that will be a major, major political mistake, and it will, again, it will hurt the Democrats extremely in those blue states that Trump turned red. And remember, there's a couple more that he could turn red, and this kind of a stunt could certainly lead to that happening. Well, we have this one nut who I thought we wrote this woman off. This Deborah Ramirez, she's back. They're reviving her. They did her story in the New Yorker last Friday, and I guess she was one of these women. I remember she's one of the women that accused Kavanaugh of, what's the term? Revealing himself to her, if you know what I mean. I thought she was so thoroughly debunked and had no witnesses or whatever. She was so thoroughly discredited that no one even gave her very much of a look. The FBI didn't investigate her claims at all. The New York Times refused to even spend any time on her at all. But somehow they've kind of revived her, and it appears because maybe there's another person who's come out who wants to be a witness or whatever. So we'll find out how credible this person is. I'm sure this person's a left-wing activist as well, trying to get some face time. There's nothing to fear from coming out and making this sort of an allegation or bearing false witness. These people seemingly face no repercussions. Their liberal friends love them for making the effort. The fact that they're totally dishonest in what they're doing doesn't seem to matter, because the ends justify the means for these people. So this guy, he's probably a liberal activist, but this is going nowhere. this woman's story was bad the first time it went around, and it'll be worse this time. And I'm sure this guy is just some political activist hack. But we'll find out in the next couple of days what's there. I'm sure it'll go away very quickly. Let's see. Yeah, well, Joe Biden's back telling the story again, which I have now heard probably. He was telling the story back, goodness gracious, and I remember hearing this story probably 10 years ago, probably even longer than that, where Biden's telling about this story where he was a lifeguard in Delaware, and he stood up to some gang member, threw him out of the pool, and then he, after he got off work, he went out there, and the gang members out there with a couple of his buddies, and they got, razor blades or whatever, and Biden says something to the gang leader, whose name is what's his name? He calls him Corn Pop. Yeah. The gang leader's name is Corn Pop. I don't know about you, but a gang leader with the name Corn Pop would put the fear of God on me. So Biden's telling the old Corn Pop story again. And he says that when he threw Corn Pop out of the pool, he called him Esther Williams because of something he had on his head. And so Biden says that when he went out to his car and this Corn Pop was there with a couple of his boys, and they had straight razors, Biden says, "Hey, I threw you out of the pool, and if you ever do that again, I'll throw you out again, but I do apologize for calling you Esther Williams." And so he says the fact that he apologized for calling Corn Pop Esther Williams, that Corn Pop and his buddies decided not to slice and dice Biden. That's what he says. That's the story. It's changed a little bit over the years, but that's the basic story. So he's back telling this story again, and again, this is a story he's been telling for years. So yeah, his mental faculties are not right. We had Bernie out there over the weekend promising free health care and college for undocumented aliens. He calls them undocumented workers. They're illegals. So here we have Bernie, free health care and college for illegal aliens, people in the country illegally. I imagine it won't be long for Warren before she'll be asked, and she'll have to come and say the same, because she has to stay right with Bernie. She can never let Bernie get to her left. She has to continue to be as crazy left-wing as Bernie if she wants to hold on. And so it'll be funny watching Elizabeth Warren in the next day or so when she's asked about this, having to say, "Oh yeah, I'm also for free health care and college, free college for illegals coming in the country." And just imagine selling that one. Can you imagine being on the debate stage with Donald Trump and having to debate that issue, wanting free health care and free college for people entering in the country illegally? That's a loser probably in all 50 states right there. We had the Adam Schiff, the pencil neck geek, sending a subpoena to the acting DNI, Joseph McGuire, accusing him of illegally withholding a whistleblower complaint from Congress to cover up for the president's misconduct. No, there's really nothing there. This is just more smoke from the bug-eyed fool. Remember, what they're trying to do here is just make sure that Trump stays under investigation by these committees in Congress up until Election Day of 2020, so that they can use that. It's all politics, and they want to be able to say that we can't elect a president who's is being impeached. This is all part of that. It's part of the lawfare plot, but it's not going to work. Well, it looks like we have another hate crime, another fake hate crime, just like the one we had from Jussie Smollett, or if you like, Juicy Smollett. So we have another fake hate crime, this one coming from a guy named Edon Kaufman. He's a former NFL player. That would make a lot of sense. He's now being charged with burglary, vandalism, and leaving the scene of an accident. Apparently, he was vandalizing his own and burglarizing his own properties, apparently in order to be able to do a couple things. Number one, to file a false insurance claim and pocket some money on that deal, but also for the same reason Smollett was doing it, was to make it look like some white racists attacked him or his businesses because he painted words MAGA, monkey, and swastikas on his property there. So he was also in the effort of trying to not be caught, he was concealing his license plate. So here we go, another fake hate crime. We'll see how much attention this gets in the liberal media. I'm guessing not very much, because they don't cover things on the left, only on the right. So if you watch CNN or MSNBC or ABC or CBS or NBC, they probably won't even cover this. And if they do, they will flip the story to make him look like a victim. They'll even probably say that the police department is corrupt and that they framed him or something. So this is probably what you'll get from the liberal media on the recent fake hate crime by Mr. Kaufman. I don't remember Edon Kaufman. I don't remember him playing in the NFL, but I'm sure they say he did. He probably did. Okay, let's go ahead and get to the winner of the Dumbass of the Week. Let's go through the voting comments. We'll start with Su Sung, who went with Nadler, the Penguin, Beto, and Castro. 3 solid picks right there. Gordon's going to go with Biden and Biden's advisors. Yeah, you're right, Gordon. Biden and his advisors. I actually almost fault his advisors, and I would put his family and friends in there as well. You know, to me, I think it's kind of cruel. I mean, if this was my father, my grandfather, or a friend or something, you know, the right thing to do is just to tell them to pack it in. It's like, you know, you don't let someone go out there and continue to embarrass themselves this way and look this bad in their elderly years. It's just not dignified. And Biden could live out the rest of his life very comfortably in a dignified way and move on. Throwing him out there the way they're doing now is not helping anybody. It's not helping the party. It's not helping Biden. This is only going to end very badly for him. It could be really, really embarrassing for him and really devastating for his party. And the right thing to do at this point, someone close to him who cares about him needs to, you know, help him make a exit stage left at the nearest available opportunity. Well done, Gordon. Jenny tweets. Yes, Jenny does tweet. She also posts comments on my YouTube, and she's going to go with Beto over his guns comment, of course. That one will also cost the Democrats some voting districts in the 2020 election, even if Beto is not even in the game anymore. But a lot of people saw that. I mean, that got really made its way around all the social media. Anybody that has any interest whatsoever in the Second Amendment has seen that. It's going to be very hurtful to the Democratic Party, regardless of who their nominee is. Believe me, you're going to see that Beto clip all through the fall of next year in the election of 2020. And that one's going to come back and bite the Democrats very hard, so they can thank the skateboarder for screwing them there. So Jenny tweets, goes with Beto. Her second pick would be AOC for her comments about the fact that Miami may not exist in 10 or 11 years. Then, of course, Joe Biden for his fake war story. There you go. 3 solid picks. Snowfeet is going to go with the Penguin, Jerry Nadler, as well as the DNC for shelving Tulsi. Yeah, I have a lot of people on my channel that like Tulsi Gabbard. So, yeah, I've had comments in the last 2 or 3 weeks from people picking the DNC as Dumbass of the Week for their treatment of Tulsi Gabbard, and I agree. Personally, I like Tulsi Gabbard as a person. I think she's a pretty nice, reasonable person. She's too far to the left for me, policy-wise, to vote for, but she has been treated unfairly, not just this time, but the last time around as well. So yeah, Tulsi Gabbard's definitely getting the shaft. Bernie should understand that quite well, and she does too, and she understands why. But I think that Tulsi Gabbard is not setting herself up so much for now as much as she is for in the future after the Democratic Party implodes and they have to find new leadership. I think she's waiting for to be like the phoenix rising up out of the ashes to rescue the Democratic Party from themselves. But I think it's going to crash and burn first, and I think Tulsi Gabbard knows that quite well. We have Michael Vaughn going with Beto. Yes, that's a good pick. The skateboarder, again, as I just said, his comments on the guns is going to be very hurtful to the Democrats in many districts throughout the country in 2020. Douglas, he's going to go with Bill Gates and Judge Jeanine Pirro. He thinks Judge Jeanine is pushing that book too hard. And Bill Gates, I'm sure there's a reason for that, which Douglas will let us in on at some point. Thank you, Douglas. We have Lee. Lee is going to go with Nadler, the Penguin, along with Joe Biden and AOC. Again, 3 very solid picks. Dennis Waddell, he's going with Crazy Uncle Joe and AOC, the wild-eyed commie. Susan Lowell, she's going to go with the Penguin, Nadler. Janet Blair, she's going to go with Biden, Crazy Uncle Joe. Always a solid pick. The sane environmentalist, he also is going to go with Biden. Gary, he's going to go with Droopy Horowitz. Yeah, I think we're referring to him in the same character. I call him Huckleberry Horowitz. Horrorwitz actually is the term I used to use. Horrorwitz. Huckleberry Horowitz. But yeah, he does remind you a lot of Droopy. That's the same face that I see, and it reminds me of the Huckleberry character, but also he does look like Droopy as well. Droopy Horowitz. Jonathan Cassidy, he's going to go with Nadless. Yeah, that's a good one. Very, very well done. The Penguin, the Nadless Penguin. He has no nads. We have the MSM, of course. They're always a candidate anytime. And the wild-eyed commie, AOC. We have Larry, our good friend Larry. He's going to go with the alleged dumbass of the week, Carter Page. Yeah, so Larry must be one of those people that believe that Carter Page, that there's a lot more going on with him than what meets the eye. I'm kind of, I don't know. I guess I'm leaning towards the fact that he's just peculiar and that he's pretty much on the up and up, but he's just peculiar. But I would not be the least bit surprised to find out that Carter Page was somehow playing a slightly different role than what we've been led to believe at this point. Be interesting to see what we learn about him. Sherman is going to go with Nadler. So is Jamie. Nadler and Biden for Jamie. Gregory, he wants to go with all 10 of the Democrats on the stage in the debate on Thursday night for his pick for Dumbass of the Week. His second pick would be the media hack moderators. That's all good. And anyone who watched. Yeah, I'm kind of good with that. All 10 could be Dumbass of the Week pick, the whole field. Yeah, the moderators were obviously dumbasses, clearly. And then, of course, anyone who watched it, anyone who watched it, I don't know, they could be Dumbass of the Week, but they might also deserve a medal if they could sit through that mess. Let's see, we have Linda Martin. She's going with the Penguin, Nadler, Biden, and the Skateboarder. Solid picks, man. Solid picks. Those 3 are probably the most solid picks of the week. A lot of people. It's just a matter of which place you put them in. Nadler and Biden are clearly battling it out for the top spot here, with Beto making a strong charge. It looks like we have Mike G. He's going to go with Biden's false teeth. Yeah, Biden definitely has some teeth problems. Andrew Yang. And, yeah, that little stunt, that gag he pulled, I don't think it went over very well. And, of course, the Penguin. The Penguin. Thanks a lot, Mike. Walker on the Hill. He's going to go with the Penguin, Nadler. Dennis Shaw. He's going with Nadler. Youngblood. He's going with the Skateboarder. Yeah, and it's not just the one comment about the guns. He also made the crazy comment about how he was going to force rich people to allow poor people to live in the same neighborhood with them, or in the same block or next door. I'm not really sure which, but that sounds really crazy commie to me. That's about as crazy commie as you can get. So yeah, Beto, he's probably got 3 or 4 things he said this week that are certainly would qualify him for a strong contender for Dumbass of the Week. Peter Swales, Alyssa Milano's shrink. Alyssa Milano's shrink. Yeah, he is a dumbass. I'm certain he tells her not to bring her firearms to her sessions, just in case. This individual, Tevon Varlak. you would probably have to go to the comments section and read about Tevon Varlack, Tevon Varlack. I did not know anything about who this person is. I remember reading in the comment, he kind of tells you who that is. You might want to Google that or something. And PETA. Of course, PETA, yes, getting stuck in the ice for about the 9th time as they go out to prove and document the fact of there's melting ice. It happens over and over again, and I'm just wishing that they would stop rescuing these people and just let them be a victim of their own stupidity for once, and maybe they'll stop it. Iowa Russian Stormy Bot is going to go with the skateboarder Andy McCabe. Andy McCabe gets a vote. And Crazy Uncle Joe. Ricky Ricardo, he's going to go with Nads, old Nadler, the Penguin. Wallace is going to go with Carter Page and Manafort. And I think Wallace. Got to think about this one with Wallace. Wallace is probably thinking because Carter Page and Manafort were maybe wearing a wire or were part of the setup. Carter Page, I'm not so sure about. That still remains to be seen. Manafort, I really don't think so. He spent too much time in solitary confinement. But anyway, very nice, Wallace, for getting those two names in the hat. Who knows? It's a pretty crazy world. Anything is possible. We could find out that Carter Page and both Manafort were somehow involved in the coup, I guess. It seems to me as a long shot, but anything is possible. Peter James, yes, our good friend in the Great White North. He's going to go with the skateboarder, Biden, the crazy man, and the Penguin. Solid picks for Peter once again. His picks usually are very solid. Okay, that leads us to tally up the votes, and here we go. It looks like for first place this week for Dumbass of the Week, the number one position for Dumbass of the Week is going to result in a dead tie. A dead tie between the Penguin and Crazy Uncle Joe. I think this is the first time we've had a tie for first place. We've had a lot of ties for second and third, but I think this is the first time we've had a tie for first place. But it looks like the Penguin and Crazy Uncle Joe are going to share the honors this week for that number one spot for Dumbass of the Week. So congratulations to all those of you who selected Nadler and Biden. Well done. The Daily Double. And all alone in second place, we have the skateboarder who made a strong, he started out slow, but he finished strong. And he is a dumbass. He's certainly worthy of a Dumbass of the Week. And of course, bringing up the rear, a solid pick anytime, every time, all the time, would be the Wild-Eyed Comey, Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. She is going to be the third position. So there we go. Nadler and Biden tied for first place. Beto all alone in second. And AOC bringing up the rear. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. You guys have a good evening. See ya. Bye.